Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, January the 30th. We do have another 6-game slate today. We're going to go through the slate position by position, just talk about the plays that stand out to me the most. Do like we always do. As we go through each position, we will build out an early core of 5 plays. These are 5 players I see specifically for Draftkings. Then we'll switch over to Yahoo. We'll talk about 5 plays I like specifically over there as well. Just looking at this slate the night before. Before we do get started, guys, as always, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. You can subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you have not yet, you can also click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you would like, you can follow me on Twitter. Link down below is my Twitter account at DFS by Noah. Also, link down below is my Patreon. If you want to see all the exclusive content I do have to offer over there, you can check out the Patreon link down below. Get in our Discord chat, get access to my article, get access to my updated core plays. I do post a lot of content over on Patreon throughout the day. I put these videos up on YouTube the night before. These are kind of like my first looks at the slate, but a lot of content throughout the day. As we get injury news, as we get updates throughout the day, a lot of that content's over on Patreon. So you can check that out. Also, one more thing, if you are playing the Super Bowl Showdown slate on Sunday, for the NFL, or the NFL Showdown slate Sunday for the Super Bowl, I will have my video up most likely Thursday morning. So by the time you're watching this, there's a good chance my video is already up for the Showdown slate. If you want to check that video out, I would greatly appreciate it. Just kind of went through the slate, talked about who I liked for Sunday's game. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at point guard today. We will start off at the top where Trae Young is our most expensive option. He is $9,900 on DraftKings, and then looking over to Yahoo, Trae Young is also the most expensive option at point guard at $48. So I do like Trae Young quite a bit today. I think the price tag makes him very appealing. He had a disappointing game in his last outing against the Raptors. It was a somewhat tough matchup. Although Young had really done well in this matchup before the season, it was surprising to see him struggle as much as he did. Just 38 fantasy points in 28 minutes. His price was 10-3 on that slate. He's down to $9,900 today. I mean, this is still a guy that has like a 35% usage rate this season, averages like 1.45, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. I know it's not the best matchup against Philly. Philly's a really good defensive team, but it is a good thing to see that the Hawks are back at home. Trae Young does tend to play much better at home than he does on the road. Also, with this game being at home, it's a little bit more likely this game does stay competitive. So I think if you pay up at point guard, Trae Young would probably be my favorite guy to go to. You do have Ben Simmons for $1,000 less. But with Joel Embiid back, I don't really want to go to Ben Simmons, even in a really good spot. Like $8,900, the price tag did come way down on Simmons, down from $10K to $8,900. We saw him really disappoint, though, against the Warriors with Embiid back. Only played 27 minutes, had 30 DraftKings points. Like, he's been on an absolute tear recently. He's still expensive, though. He's still $8,900. At this price tag, like, I want Simmons to get 50-plus DraftKings points in order to be like a really good tournament play at the salary. I just don't know if like he has that. I mean, he obviously has that upside in him. I just don't know like the likelihood of Simmons going for like 55 to 60 DraftKings points. I don't know if that's enough for me to want to roster him at this salary. Like if you look at the center position, Embiid's only 400 more. I think I'd rather just play Embiid for 400 more over Simmons. So point guard for me, I kind of like this mid-range. Once you get past the top tier guys, like Kemba Walker at home against the Warriors really stands out, only $7,900 on DraftKings. If Jason Tatum remains out, he's questionable as of Tuesday night or Wednesday night when I'm recording this video. If Tatum remains out, I think you can definitely look to Kemba at $7,900. Devonte Graham, though, I like a ton, $7,700 on DraftKings. He burned me hard on the last slate. I was pretty heavy on him, especially on Yahoo where he was really cheap. We got word like 20 minutes before lock that Devonte Graham was going to be out. And then we got word like 10 minutes later that he was actually going to play. I kept him in my lineups. Ultimately, like I started tweaking my lineups, getting Graham out. I started plugging in guys like Rozier, Malik Monk. And then when we got the news that Graham was going to play, I took those guys back out and then got my exposure to Devonte Graham. He was really disappointing. Only 18 DraftKings points in 35 minutes. He wasn't really limited, though, which is good to see. I mean, it's not like he was injured. Like, supposedly he was scratched due to an illness, but obviously he wasn't ill. He played 35 minutes. He didn't shoot that well from the field. Only took 8 shots. Wasn't very aggressive at all. But now he's in a great spot against the Wizards. The price tag's still expensive, so I think that will help keep his ownership down, especially on DraftKings. I still like going back to Devonte Graham today. Going over to Yahoo, I think he really stands out as one of the best options over there. I expect him to be more popular on Yahoo given the $27 salary, but it's really hard to get away from him at that salary in this matchup. I mean, we know Devonte Graham is a guy that has close to 50-point upside. We've seen him go for 45 to 50 fantasy points this season. He still has a 26 or 25% usage rate, still averages over a fantasy point per minute. His assist percentage is over 30% this season. And I know he's had a lot of success in this matchup so far. Played the Wizards November 22nd, had 41 fantasy points in that game. I think they played again. Yeah, they played again December 2nd, had 47 fantasy points in that game. So he's faced the Wizards twice this season, went for 41 and 47 fantasy points. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another 40 fantasy point game from Graham, if not better. So, especially on Yahoo at 27, that's where I would really lock him in. At $27 on Yahoo, he's honestly a cash game play. Draftkings, though, he's probably more suited for tournaments. Guys like Kemba Walker, even Fred VanVleet, those guys are probably going to project better, but those guys are obviously going to be more popular as well. You should get Devonte Graham at pretty low ownership on DraftKings today, which does make him very appealing in my eyes. But then other point guards, I say it a lot, but Kyle Lowry is in play, especially in this matchup. This is a matchup I've targeted a lot this season. Guards against the Cavs, especially point guards against the Cavs, they have allowed the most fantasy points to point guards this season. It is a very favorable matchup for Kyle Lowry, so at 7,500, he's definitely in play for me. Donovan Mitchell's price tag has come way down. I mean, he's down to 7,200 on DK. The fantasy production's still been good, especially the last two games. 46, 51 DraftKings points against Dallas and Houston. This is a back-to-back for the Jazz. They did play on Wednesday night against the Spurs. I don't think that really has an impact on Donovan Mitchell. I expect he plays his full minutes regardless. Mike Conley is back and getting about 20 to 25 minutes, and that really hasn't made much of a difference to Mitchell. I mean, the guy's still shown a lot of upside even with Conley back. It's not the best spot on the road against Denver, but at 7,200, really appealing price tag on Donovan Mitchell. I do like him quite a bit. Between Sexton, Williams, Mitchell, Rozier, I would definitely take Mitchell over those guys for sure. But I do want to talk about Will Barton. So Will Barton, down to 6K on DraftKings. His price tag has plummeted just due to poor play recently. You saw just a week or two ago. I mean, this guy was nearly 8K, 7,600, 7,800. He's come down to 6K on DraftKings, and a lot of that has been due to poor play. I mean, you look at the game log. The game log's not very pretty. 33, 31, 26, 27, 20, 28 DraftKings points. Obviously, that's not what you want at a 6K price tag. But if we look at the numbers this season, Will Barton has been a very productive player with Jamal Murray and Paul Millsap off the floor. We know those guys are going to remain out. They're going to be out for a while. So we'll take them off the floor. We could take Mason Plumlee off the floor as well, because we do know that Mason Plumlee going to be out for a while. Mainly, getting Jamal Murray off the floor is big for Will Barton. It allows him to handle the ball more, to kind of be the primary ball handler. He does start at point guard. They've moved Monte Morris back to the bench. So Barton's going to be a guy that should pick up plenty of assists. He's played 251 minutes this season with those three guys off the floor. 21% usage rate, close to a 20% assist percentage, averaging about a fantasy point per minute. The numbers looked a lot better until this recent slump. Now that you pull up his numbers lately, they look really bad because he's been struggling so much. But towards the beginning of part of the season, I mean, Barton was averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute with Jamal Murray off the floor. I think he's going to benefit big time. Now that the price tag has come way down on DraftKings, I definitely want to take advantage of that, especially because he has point guard and small forward eligibility, which makes him very appealing. Not the best spot against the Jazz, but the price tag's so appealing on Barton. I do have quite a bit of interest in him in that mid-range today. But then other point guards, if we're looking for value here, I think with Jordan McRae out, you could take a shot on Ish Smith at 4,600. Ish got 27 minutes last game against Milwaukee with McRae out. 24 fantasy points. He'd probably project for similar numbers today. It is a better matchup against the Hornets, so definitely in play for me as a cheap option. But other than that, that's probably it in terms of value plays, in terms of cheap options at point guard. So let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now, and we'll talk about this position. So at the top, I do like Bradley Beal a ton today. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate. 9,400 against the Hornets. The price tag's coming up, no doubt. He was a guy we were getting at 7,500, 8K, just the last couple slates. He's been playing at a very high level, so now the price tag is way up to 9,400. But this is the price tag that he should be. I mean, this is a guy that's averaged 1.3 fantasy points per minute this season. His usage rate is insanely high. We'll take a look at his numbers this season. We could take some guys off the floor, like we could take Rui off the floor. We could take Wagner off the floor because we know they're going to be out. But I'll just run the numbers with everybody healthy. So Beal, 33% usage rate, averaging about 1.3 fantasy points per minute, nearly a 29% assist percentage. Just really good numbers, and now he gets a great matchup at home against the Hornets. The Hornets, although they do play at a slow pace, they are a very bad defensive team. I mean, they rank 26th in defensive rating this season. This is a matchup where Bradley Beal can have a lot of success. It's very similar to Devonte Graham. With him being so expensive, I think that maybe keeps his ownership somewhat in check. I don't think he's going to be as chalky as he was on the last slate. So I do like going back to Bradley Beal. I like him a lot on Yahoo where the price tag didn't move. He's still $40 over there. I think he is clearly the top shooting guard play. Very similar to Devonte Graham as well. Like Graham, Beal, these guys are going to be much more popular on Yahoo because they're much cheaper. Their price tags are much more reasonable. But on DK, where you're getting them so expensive, obviously it's not great that you're getting them at expensive price tags, but that will keep their ownership pretty low if I had to guess. I don't see people paying nearly $8K for Graham with how much he's been struggling recently. I don't see people paying $9,400 for Bradley Beal. At least I don't think he's going to be like 30-40% owned like he was on the last slate. I think he's going to come in more in like the 10 to 20 range, which makes me have a lot of interest in him in tournaments. But now we'll take a look at some other shooting guards. Van Vliet's in a really good spot against Cleveland. Really good matchup. So if you wanted to go to him, he's very nicely priced on Yahoo at $31, I think. Van Vliet stands out. Jaylen Brown as well, especially if Jason Tatum remains out. I think Jaylen Brown is a guy you could look to. Talked about Donovan Mitchell. I think he's way too cheap today. Other shooting guards, though, there's not really much that stands out in the mid-range. Like Joe Ingles' price tag's coming way down. With Mike Conley back, that's going to hurt Joe Ingles, and we're going to see his production definitely take a hit. He's still starting, though, and he's still playing about 30 minutes. So at $4,900, he could be a guy you look to as a value, but I think that's probably it for shooting guard plays. Like, there's not much value here. Gary Harris is back in the starting lineup and playing solid minutes, but his production's always so inconsistent. I don't really want to go there. So, yeah, like, honestly, I think this is a position I'm going to be prioritizing the expensive options. Guys like Bradley Beal, Van Vliet, Jaylen Brown, if Tatum's out. Donovan Mitchell, I like a lot at his salary. Those are the kind of guys I'm looking to at shooting guard today. So let's go ahead and talk about small forward. At the top of the small forward position, you do have Kawhi Leonard, $10,800. At Kawhi's salary, I don't really have much interest in him, especially now that Paul George is probable and expected to play today. We will talk about George in a second, but at Kawhi's salary, I would just rather play guys like Beal for cheaper. We'll get to Embiid later, even Jokic for cheaper, Trae Young. Like, these are the guys I like. I really don't target like the Clippers when they're fully healthy unless the price tags are really nice. Like, I think the price tag's pretty nice on Paul George at $8,200. He is coming back from injury, so I'm not sure if he's going to be limited. It was a hamstring injury. Hasn't played in over like nearly 25 days, so nearly 3 weeks. There's a chance Paul George is limited, so honestly, even though with him being nicely priced, I doubt I go there. Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, both those guys I will have quite a bit of interest in today. If Tatum remains out, like Hayward, Brown, and Kemba, like you can play those three guys. We're going to see them really benefit with Tatum off the floor. I mean, Hayward's been putting up solid outings, playing huge minutes right now. Jaylen Brown's been pretty productive as well. 37 DK points his last game. The price tag's starting to come up on all these guys, but it's a somewhat short slate, only 6 games. Player pool's pretty limited. I still think you can go to these guys, especially in a really good matchup against the Warriors. But other small forwards, Bojan's fine at 6K. Never a guy I feel like I have to have, but small forward's kind of gross. Like, there's nobody that stands out at this position. You can play Will Barton here. Bradley Beal has small forward eligibility as well, so I do like both those guys quite a bit at this position. No, Michael Porter Jr. has been really cheap on Yahoo. He's still pretty nicely priced at $17. Got 22 minutes last game. He's going to be around the 22 to 24 minute range most nights. Even in that limited time, like this is a guy that still has like 30, 35 point upside. If I was going to play him, it would probably be on Yahoo where he's $17. So I think he's a fine guy to go to there. On Draftkings, I don't really have a ton of interest at that salary. Troy Brown did benefit last game with Jordan McRae out. Got big minutes, played 35 minutes against Milwaukee, had 32 Draftkings points. I expect the minutes to continue to be there in a really good matchup against the Hornets, a really bad defensive team. Troy Brown is definitely in play in this mid-range. The price tag did come up. Like, he was $4,500 or $4,600 on the last slate. He was $4,500, so I mean, he saw over $1,000 increase in price. Not nearly as good of a play as he was on the last slate, but still a guy that's on my radar for sure at small forward. But for value plays, I don't really think there's any cheap options I really like at small forward. There's nothing that stands out. I know Kevin Porter had a solid game off the bench last game, 29 DraftKings points, 26 minutes. I think a lot of that had to do with Darius Garland being out. I would expect Porter plays probably 25 minutes today, so I don't really know if I want to go there at 4K, especially with Garland back now. I think with Garland back, you're not going to see Kevin Porter get those minutes, be as productive, or get as many minutes as he did, or be as productive as he did. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some power forward plays now. Moving on to this position, you do have Pascal Siakam at the top, 8,400 on DraftKings. Pretty solid matchup against Cleveland. We do know that Marc Gasol is going to be out today, which I think does give a little bit of a boost to Pascal Siakam. We can actually run the numbers real quick just to see if there are any big beneficiaries with Gasol off the floor. I don't think they're going to be. Like, obviously, Ibaka is going to get more minutes, but I don't think there's going to be any guys that see, like, massive bumps in usage with him off the floor. Yeah, like, Siakam sees a 2% bump in usage. Lowry's been a little bit more productive with Gasol off the floor, but that's really doesn't make much of a difference. It's just going to give Serge Ibaka more minutes. I imagine he starts at center today, and we will talk about him. So at 8,400, probably not going to get much Siakam today. Don't expect to go to him a ton. Tough matchup for John Collins. Don't really want to go there. You got the Boston guys you could go to. Kevin Love's price tag's coming down at 7,200 at home against Toronto. This game has a lot of blowout potential, but it's being played in Cleveland, which should help keep it close. I think Love's really nicely priced on Yahoo. Yeah, over here he's $31, so if you're going to play Kevin Love, I'd probably do it on Yahoo. I do like that salary quite a bit today if you want to go to him. I think he makes plenty of sense. Just looking at other power forwards, Bielitsa was a guy that I liked quite a bit Wednesday night. Not sure how he's doing. That game's about to start as I'm recording this video. I do like Bielitsa with Bagley and Holmes off the floor. He's getting a lot of minutes. He's getting some minutes at center as well, which he's very productive when he gets minutes at center. The rebounds have been up. Just the production overall has been up. 54 DraftKings points last game, played 41 minutes. I expect the big minutes to continue. Tough matchup against the Clippers, but the price tag's still pretty nice on Bielitsa. So I do have some interest in him. Davis Bertans I want to talk about over on Yahoo. So his price tag is still very nice. Only $20, really hasn't moved. This is a guy that's getting 32 minutes a night right now. Played 29, nearly 30 minutes against the Bucks last game. Had 26 fantasy points. The game before that, nearly 33 minutes against the Hawks. Like, if I had to project him for minutes, I'd give him probably a minutes projection of anywhere but like 31 to 32. Probably on the upper side of that, probably 32 minutes. And I like the matchup a lot against the Hornets. This is a matchup where Bertans has had a lot of success this season. He's done really well against the Hornets. It makes sense. I mean, this team is really bad defensively. In terms of defensive rating, we talked about it earlier. They're 26th in defensive rating. Versus power forwards, they are also one of the worst defensive teams versus power forwards. So I do like Bertans quite a bit at his Yahoo salary of only $20. On DraftKings, he is pretty expensive at $6,200. Like, he was $5,300 on the last slate. He was pretty popular. The price tag actually jumped up a ton to $6,200. If Bertans was still $5,300 today, he would probably be a core play for me. But at his DraftKings salary, you don't have to go to him at that salary. But like I stated earlier, he's had a lot of success in this matchup. An average of 46 DraftKings points through 2 games against the Hornets. I know some of that time, or I know at least one of those games came when like Bradley Beal was out, when like everybody was out, and Bertans was just going out there and chucking. Obviously, you don't expect that to be the case now, but this is still a guy that has a ton of upside, especially when his shot is falling. And in a matchup against a really bad defensive team, we could obviously see that happen here. So I do like Bertans. It's been interesting to see Larry Nance getting a lot of minutes recently. He's been closing out games over Tristan Thompson. Like, he's been getting more minutes than Tristan Thompson recently. Been very productive as well. In 3 of his last 4 games, he has at least 35 DraftKings points. The price tag's starting to get up there. He's up to $5,600. It's a tough matchup against the Raptors. But if Nance is going to continue to play like 26 to 28 minutes with how productive of a player he is on a point-per-minute basis, I think I have a little bit of interest in him. Yahoo is really cheap at center. He's down to $16. Like, if you want to play Larry Nance over there, I don't mind that at all. DraftKings, it is nice, though, that you can roster him at power forward and center. But the only reason I'm not going to go to Nance is because I like a guy a little bit cheaper. I like him a lot more. Thomas Bryant, $5,200. I have a ton of interest in today against the Hornets. Uh, it was great to see Thomas Bryant not on a limit last game. They kind of set him loose against the Bucks. Played 32 minutes and had a great game. 44 DraftKings points, had 18, 10, and 6 with 1 block and 1 steal. Bryant has been starting recently, which makes me feel good about his minutes. Although he's been limited, playing 18 to 20 minutes. Given that he played 32 minutes last game and played so well, I have to assume he gets near 30 minutes again, if not more. And this is a fantastic matchup against the Hornets, who have been one of the worst defensive teams versus power forwards and centers this season. Bryant put up 38 DK points earlier this season when they faced the Hornets. I like him a lot at his DraftKings salary at 5,200, power forward and center eligibility. He looks like a really strong play at that salary. And I think over on Yahoo, even though you have to play him at center, I still like him a ton over there as well at $17. Stands out as one of the better options at center today. But then the last guy we'll talk about at this position is Marquese Chris. I do like him quite a bit as a value option. Great to see he got 31 minutes last game. Even in a tough matchup against Philly, the minutes were there for Chris. Wasn't that productive, only had 24 DraftKings points, but this is a guy that's averaged about a fantasy point per minute this season. I have to assume he's going to continue to get the minutes now that Willie Cauley-Stein's no longer on the team. Kevon Looney still remains out, so Marquese Chris is going to be the starting center. This is a much better matchup than his last one. I mean, centers against Boston has actually been a pretty easy, or a pretty good matchup that you can target. They're not that good defensively versus centers, especially with Al Horford no longer on the team. Whether it's Daniel Tice or I don't even know who they would use since Canner's out. Maybe Vincent Poirier or something. I'm not really sure. But this is a matchup where Chris can have some success. He's still really cheap on DraftKings at $4,500. I mean, if they're going to give him 30 minutes again at this salary with power forward and center eligibility, he looks like a pretty good value play, just in my opinion. Much better matchup today. I do expect him to be more productive than he was on the last slate against Philly. So I like him as a value, but other than that, I think we can move on to center. I mean, I guess we could talk about Al Horford because he is questionable right now. Obviously, if Horford were to sit, somebody like Mike Scott could become a play. Scott is really cheap, $3,900. I would assume that he moves into the starting lineup if he's able to play. He's also questionable, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. I mean, maybe they could start Korkmaz at the 2 and then move everybody down and start Tobias Harris at the 4. They could do that, just kind of wait and see there. But Al Horford is an injury to watch. If he's out and Scott winds up starting, Scott could be a value at $3,900 on DK. But we'll go ahead and talk about center real quick just before we end the video. So starting off at the top, you do have Nikola Jokic, most expensive option, $10,100 at home against the Jazz. This isn't the best spot for Jokic against the Jazz and against Rudy Gobert, who is a very solid defender. But Jokic is just getting so much usage right now, playing so many minutes. I mean, the last 2 games, he's played 38 and 39 minutes. With no Paul Millsap, no Mason Plumlee, they're just giving Jokic a ton of run right now. Even in a tough matchup, I think he's still in play at $10,100. If Joel Embiid is not going to be limited, though, I think I would prefer Embiid for a little bit cheaper, especially because his matchup is so good against the Hawks. First game back from his finger injury, Embiid played 26 minutes against the Warriors. He had 39 DraftKings points in that game. It was interesting to see that Ben Simmons also played limited minutes. He only played 27 minutes. Let me see how many minutes Tobias Harris played. Let's see. So Harris got 37 minutes. Let's see what Al Horford played. Horford played 31. So Harris and Horford got their full run, but Simmons and Embiid were kind of limited. I don't know why Simmons was, but obviously Embiid could have been limited due to his injury. Assuming he's a full go today and can play close to 30 minutes, if not more, Embiid could absolutely smash this Hawks front court. He smashed them earlier this season, put up 66 DraftKings points in 32 minutes against the Hawks. This team has been terrible defensively versus centers. If we get word throughout the day that Joel Embiid's going to be a full go, no minutes limit, I don't think he was on a minutes limit the last slate. I don't think they came out and said they're going to limit his minutes. I think he was just, the coach just decided to. So I'm assuming he can play 30 minutes today. I mean, it was a finger injury. It wasn't it wasn't like a hamstring or a calf injury. I mean, it was a finger, so. Embiid, full go against the Hawks. Sign me up for that at $9,300 on DK. On Yahoo, he's cheaper than Jokic as well, $43. Not as much savings there, just a $2 difference, but I still do like Embiid quite a bit over on Yahoo as well. But other centers we could look to, did want to talk about Serge Ibaka. With Marc Gasol out today, I'm assuming Serge Ibaka gets the start at center. He is very expensive on DraftKings. DraftKings was quick to adjust the price up to $7,100, so you don't really have to go to him at his DK salary. I think you can definitely look elsewhere. On Yahoo, though, he still is pretty affordable over there. $23 definitely stands out in that mid-range at center. I have a feeling it's going to be like a two-center lineup kind of night on Yahoo just because you have Embiid, you have Ibaka, you have Thomas Bryant, you have Larry Nance. There's other guys you could look to. I do like Ibaka over on Yahoo where his price tag really didn't move. I'm assuming with Gasol out, he starts and plays probably 30 to 32 minutes, and Ibaka's been a fantasy point per minute player. Can get you a double-double in 30 minutes. Could put up a similar line to what he did against the Hawks, so I like him as a mid-range option at center. On Draftkings, it's a little bit tougher to get to him. I don't think I'm really going to go to him at his DK salary. But honestly, I think that's probably it for center plays, just in terms of guys I've already talked. Like, we have guys here I've already talked about, like Nance. Daniel Tice has been playing really well with Cantor out, been getting the minutes. Against the Warriors, you could definitely look to him, but not a must-play, especially now that the price tag's coming up, now that he's up to 6,100. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for center, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything here, so I think that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you did enjoy, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you drop a like down below before we get out of here, and make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. You can also click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. Down in the description, you can check out my Patreon, and you can follow me on Twitter, link down below in the description at DFS by Noah, and I do have a lot of Patreon content available throughout the day. I'll have updated core plays over there. I'll have my article posted in the afternoon. I do also have a Discord chat that you can join, so a lot of content goes out on Patreon throughout the day, Thursday. Feel free to check out the Patreon, link down below. And like I said at the beginning, one last thing. If you guys are playing the showdown slate on Sunday for the Super Bowl, I will have my NFL video up Thursday morning, probably around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern time. I'll have my NFL video up. So by the time you're watching this, good chance that video is already up on the channel. Would definitely appreciate it if you would check that video out. Maybe drop a like if you are playing this the showdown slate on Sunday. But yeah, guys, think we covered everything. Good luck tonight. Appreciate you watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.